Joining me for all the chat today, delighted to say, is Philip Ingram, MBE, former senior military intelligence officer. Morning to you.
Good morning.
Before people get very confused,
yes,
it is Tuesday, it's not Thursday.
And I'm confused.
But it's been a bit of swapsy, so you're here early. And it's very rare, I wouldn't say this, but what a great day to have you in.
The effort I had to put in to get all the global news that was going to come out on Wednesday night changed to Monday night now so that we could talk about it.
Very, very, very thoughtful. Did you say Monday night? It was all happening about 6, 7 a.m. this morning. Question I want to put to our audience, which I will put to you as well. We're going various posts from Donald Trump this morning, as JK's been discussing on breakfast. We're going to work our way through them because they're all pretty darn significant. And if you think they're not, you've not been paying attention. I think you should listen to this show more often. Donald Trump has accused Keir Starmer, I say, of giving away the Chagos Islands for no reason whatsoever in a post, in an act of great stupidity, he says. What is your reaction to that? Give us a call, 0344 499 1000, text 87222. Get in touch on X at TalkTV. Calls are charged at the national rate. All together now. Text costs £1, standard network rate message. You never join in, Philip. I'd expect that by now.
It's free.
I'm just going to read that full post because I really think it is worth hearing in full. This is one of many posts on Truth Social this morning. Shockingly, our brilliant, in inverted commas, Saki, our brilliant NATO ally, the United Kingdom, is currently planning to give away the island of Diego Garcia, the site of a vital US military base, to Mauritius, and to do so, capital letters, for no reason whatsoever. I mean, every single word of that is absolutely true.
Correct.
There is no doubt, Donald Trump continues, that China and Russia have noticed this act of total weakness.
Yep.
Correct. These are international powers who only recognise strength.
Yep.
Correct. Which is why the United States of America, under my leadership, is now, after only 1 year, respected like never before. He then continues, the UK giving away extremely important land is an act of, again, capital letters, great stupidity.
Yes.
Correct. And is another in a very long line of national security reasons why Greenland has to be acquired. Couldn't quite see the link there, but there we are. Denmark and its allies in Europe European allies have to do the right thing. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This, by the way, went along with, I think we can put them up there, a couple of different photographs. The first one is of Donald Trump with Marco Rubio, his Secretary of State, and his J.D. Vance, his Vice President, standing behind him, planting an American flag on Greenland, US territory, established 2026. I hope we've actually got that image, which we can put up for those of you who are watching on YouTube. Another image, he also, AI is a wonderful thing, image when he was sitting with the EU and NATO leaders in the White House in the Oval Office, and he's got a big picture of Greenland, America and Canada, and Greenland, America and Canada all have US flags. I mean, Philip, help.
If I was Mark Carney, I'd be slightly worried about that at the moment, because it's clearly Donald Trump's got his sights on him next, and he had his sights on Canada before.
He can't take Canada.
Well, he can't take Greenland.
Can? He could. I mean, if America wanted to take the military into Greenland, he could. The question is whether the American military would agree to do that.
Well, yes, and for the same reason, the American military wouldn't try and take Canada. The American military could overwhelm Canada militarily tomorrow without any problems whatsoever.
My understanding is the reports coming out that the American military senior levels en masse would simply resign and say, we simply will not carry out this.
Interestingly, later today, I'm speaking to a former Supreme Commander of NATO, an American general, and I'm going to ask him that very question.
Do send me a message afterwards and let me know what we'll report back.
But I think Donald Trump is, I don't know why he's got fixated on owning Greenland, because from a defence perspective, which is why he's trying to justify all of this, the 1951 agreement that he's already got with Denmark and with Greenland allows him to put any number of US troops, any US military capability on Greenland without having to refer to the Danish government or the Greenland government beforehand to provide whatever protection Donald Trump wants to put in there. So it's not about security and defence, which is what Donald Trump's trying to say. And everyone I've spoken to, and I've spoken to some very senior American politicians, ambassadors and others, just don't get the logic.
I mean, is the whole thing coming down to this Nobel Peace Prize, which is that Donald Trump, again, a letter that's been leaked, and a letter he wrote to the Norwegian Prime Minister, leaked yesterday, blaming the Norwegian government which has no control over what the Nobel Peace Prize Committee does for not giving him the Peace Prize. He's very angry about it. He feels he deserves it. I've got to be honest with you, he did deserve it. Obama got nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize within 6 weeks. The nominations are closed within 6 weeks of he taking the presidency. He did absolutely nothing for world peace. He didn't do anything to stop people being killed en masse in Syria and the like. He was given it. Even he was embarrassed to be nominated and then to get the Peace Prize. I think Donald Trump is fair enough. Of course, the opposition leader in Venezuela has handed it over to him. I mean, and he took it because he has no class.
But have you seen the memes that have come out of that?
Yes.
He's now the Wimbledon women's champion. He's now
exactly. But it's awful. He did say, he says he no longer feels an obligation to think purely of peace. He's committed to these tariffs on the UK, 7 other NATO nations, on all goods and services, unless they back him on Greenland. That's not necessarily going to happen, but
he's lost it.
But there's going to be a meeting. Well, we know everyone's going to be meeting in Davos, apart from Keir Starmer. Okay, so he's not going to be going there. The 1 year that he doesn't go, he said in an interview a few years ago, do you prefer Westminster, Davos? Oh, Davos, he said, which I thought was very telling. Yeah. He's now being told off for going to Davos. So he goes like a year or two ago when, just the Belgians and the, and I don't know, God knows who else, Tonga was there. But this year when every major leader's going to be there, he's not there. So he needs to get his backside onto a plane and get to Davos tomorrow.
The biggest global issue that's going to affect all of the leaders at Davos is going to be discussed at Davos, and he's decided not to be there. This I think sums him up and sums his leadership up.
Well, he did that speech yesterday, and again, we're still talking on Greenland here, but I want to come back to Chagos Islands. But I was watching it. I'm prepping for the show. I'm listening to this speech he gave, and then the question and answer session. And I literally couldn't work out what he'd actually said. And you could see by the fact it barely made the news since, because he didn't. Yeah. He didn't
say anything.
He cancels his events for the day. He makes his very serious statement, and he says nothing because he is an empty suit. There is nothing there.
But he doesn't even present it well. He doesn't come across as someone who's confident and give the listening audience confidence. And it's quite certain that all the journalists that were sitting in the audience didn't have confidence in what he was saying. But
there's also, there's no way he's saying, look, can everyone calm down? The EU is talking about this trade bazooka. Now, they've got a lot more power than us because there's more of them. That's how the world works. But this is about actually hitting US tech companies. Keir Starmer was quite right. A trade war is in no one's interest. It's not in our consumer interest. It's not in American consumer interest or European. He's basically saying, can everyone calm down? I'm all in favour of that. You can talk. We know you can talk Donald Trump down. We know you can talk him up. He basically says the thing that the last person in the room said to him. We know that.
The EU is in a strong position to fight a trade war, but we're in a strong position as well. UK as a country owns more US debt than any other country, and therefore we started selling that debt off. From what I understand, I'm not an economist, but if we sold that off, at a fraction of the price, it could completely destroy the US economy. So Donald Trump.
Really?
Yeah, Donald Trump.
We ain't going to do anything like that.
No, we're not going to, because this is.
We'll sell our own gold off and then view in our economy. That's how we do things around this way.
This is above one man. This is one man that's pushing all of this through. So the relationship that there is with the United States at a political level below Donald Trump and at a working level is completely different.
Yeah, and we can see that even in Congress, can't we? Republicans and Democrats not happy about this. And even like the trade tariffs, there's going to be a decision by the Supreme Court next week, and we're told it's very likely they'll say, look, you haven't got the power. But this is the thing. This is all going off. Donald Trump, he does this. He takes the thing off the grenade, and that's how technical I am.
Pulls the pin out.
That's the word, pin.
Pin out of the grenade.
I've got a military man in the studio. Pulls the pin out, throws the grenade in, and he goes, ha ha, everyone's paying attention to me. He creates chaos, and he wants to do a deal. I don't know what the deal is. Media. President Macron, he wrote a text message. I think this is one of the most significant things. He is revealing photographs of text messages from world leaders. If world leaders feel they can't have an honest conversation with the president and keep it quiet, that is very dangerous.
Exactly.
People need to have, that's why you can't have full freedom of information on every diplomatic case. You need to have private things. It starts, my friend, we are totally in line on Syria. We can do great things on Iran. I do not understand what you're doing in Greenland. Let us try to build great things. Talking about setting up a G7 meeting after Davos in Paris on Thursday, have dinner together. In fact, the Ukrainians, the Russians, that's the sort of backdoor diplomacy we need them to be doing. But the mention of the Ukrainians is a crucial point. is that the biggest fear in Europe is Donald Trump could go, well, you won't help me in Greenland. I end all my help for Greenland, for Ukraine, and that include arms sales. Yeah, what happens then?
The reality is, I think we overplay the level of US support for Ukraine as being more important than it actually is. The critical bit within it is US intelligence support. Now, the French are now allegedly providing more intelligence support to Ukraine than the Americans are. And it's the use of what is called ITAR-controlled material in Western weapons. So those are things that are subject to US export controls because they're using classified US technologies. And that's why the Storm Shadow missile has to get US clearance to be fired into Russia, because the guidance systems on it use US military GPS satellites, which are different to the ones that you have putting your car around the place. And that's where the difficulty comes in. And some of the logistics support. If the US pulled out and stopped their support for Ukraine tomorrow and gave nothing, would it impact the war? It would elongate it. Would it mean Ukraine is going to fail? No.
Okay,
Europe
that is very good to know. Right, okay, let's come back to Chagos. Because everything, this is all linked. It's like, you did this to me, and this is how world affairs
everything
matter.
Is linked around the world.
Let's all stop that pretending. But I mean, the people who are absolutely laughing into their cornflakes this morning over the splits between the US and the EU and us, over every single aspect, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's over the Greenland and indeed Chagos, are of course the Russians and the Chinese. They are absolutely keeling over laughing. Now, what Donald Trump, and I read that post out, what Donald Trump had to say about Chagos Islands suggests, well, Diego Garcia, suggests to me, A, this is the first time he's heard about it, which is a worry. The White House, against, I mean, all better judgment, signed off on this, and basically they haven't got a problem, because I think a lot of us who thought that the giving away of the Chagos Islands to the Mauritius was an insane move, and of course the US would block it because of this Diego Garcia military base, which has been used, and I'm sure you can explain to audience, in very crucial sorties, you know, to the
it's more vital than just as an air base.
It's a very significant base, and we thought the Americans would block it. They haven't. Now, this has been going through Parliament, lots of fuss about this. It's a recommendation from Lord Hermer, the Attorney General, who basically, as far as we can tell, has put a spell on Keir Starmer and gets anything he wants. There's this absurd, absolute nonsense claim that, we've got no choice legally, the international law. There's no,
that's wrong.
It's absolutely, you can, I'm sure you explain this well. It's absolute nonsense. But we're going to go ahead. It's been in the Lords. The Lords have tried to block it. It's tried to delay it. That hasn't been, I think, enough done. I think there should be more done by the Lords to try and stop this. But if Donald Trump says, I don't want this to go ahead, is this our best hope of this insane deal where we end up paying hundreds of millions, even billions of pounds to basically to give away something we own to someone who has no right to it? To
pay for someone to take something that they've no right to, that belongs to us at the moment. That is a strategic base that the Americans are occupying, but is part of the Five Eyes network that is critical.
What's it being used for?
Not just from the airbase perspective, but it's also a communications hub. It communicates with satellites in space and highly classified satellites
in the middle of the ocean.
In the middle of the ocean. It is something that has got electronic sniffing capability, intelligence gathering capability in an area that is where China is expanding, one of the biggest trade routes that there is in the world and impacting the world, and a number of other capabilities that are there. It is critical to the wider intelligence network. That's why China wants to get close to it. And for Keir Starmer not to recognise that Donald Trump is focused on owning territory and therefore to give it away. For Keir Starmer then to turn around and say Donald Trump supports what he's doing. Well, it's quite clear Donald Trump isn't. So either Donald Trump's lying or Keir Starmer's lying. Well, Keir Starmer's got a history of lying to us on so many things. I tend to believe Donald Trump in this one. And why we didn't, if we want to get rid of it because it's too much of an administrative headache for the UK, just sell it to the Americans who would have paid us tens of billions.
There's a lot of talk about the Chagosians. I'm sorry, I just don't think this is... There are a handful of people who actually lived on it.
But on principle, this is the other important thing that's in there. Keir Starmer's turning around and saying Greenland, and there's a handful of Greenlanders.
57,000.
Yes, less than 100,000. But he wants them to have the say over what happens in Greenland, but he's not interested in engaging with Chagosians.
But this is a British territory.
It is a British territory, but this is where the optics of it when it comes out, and Donald Trump sitting looking at it.
But the ending, this is a human rights sort of nonsense. The idea that Mauritius has no claim, they've never owned this island, it's got no claim to it. Mauritius is totally under the thumb of the Chinese. This is clearly a matter of national security, nothing to discuss.
And the international law bit that they keep talking about is a non-binding UN ruling on something, and it
by
says
a load of third world banana republic
exactly
countries.
says it's
I'm sorry, I don't
of,
care what these people think about anything.
Of which Russia and China were senior partners in it. And the second thing is they then try and quote, whenever that's quoted, something to do with the controlling the electromagnetic spectrum and suggesting that the Mauritians could close it down with the Chinese and others. No, they can't. It is irrelevant. That does not apply.
What? I mean, see what I mean? This is just what. This is just the news just all come out from Donald Trump's post on his True Social website. What happens next? Okay, I think Keir Starmer was going to turn up to Davos. B, I think there'll probably be some sort of meetings and some sort of efforts behind the scenes. C, I mean, Ursula von der Leyen is speaking at Davos. Of course she is. I mean, you know, where else would she rather be? She's just said it's time to build a new independent Europe. Well, good luck with that, love, but you're going to have to spend a lot more on defence, and you're also going to have an economy that can function. So you drop your net zero, drop all your your nonsense. I mean, I'm sorry. Europe is kidding itself if it thinks it's... OK, we are more powerful than Russia if we want to be, but at the end of the day, there's no will. We haven't got the fighting forces, most of us, and we haven't got the military capability to take on Russia.
We have. No, yes,
for a couple of weeks.
No. We do have the military capability to take on Russia because Russia is in a severely weakened position at the moment militarily with what it's committed to Ukraine.
They're also battle hardened.
No, not compared to the training that we have.
Okay.
And
reassuring.
You've got Russia relying on 80% of its artillery ammunition coming from North Korea. For goodness sake, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't stand beside a gun with a very, very long lanyard and pull it if there's a North Korean shell in it. It's more likely to go bang in the gun.
And we see actually a lot of those injuries.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's